Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam show. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam. Turn it up, it's the pancake and power slam show. Turn it up.
What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? This is another episode of the Pancakes and Power Slam show. I'm Dr. Chris Featherstone. We are here about to have a great time, as we do always. I see that the room is filling up. I see that the chat is filling up. And let's get into it, man. Let's, it's share time. Go ahead and repost, retweet, do all that jazz. Let's get some people in here, man. It's a very interesting subject today we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the psychology of friendship, stemming from R-Truth and John Cena. As you see in the thumbnail, they were great pals. As Chris Frawley would say, we're going to be buddies. We're going to be pals. And they went from great pals, even R-Truth calling John Cena his childhood hero. And it goes from that to, unfortunately, John Cena just absolutely just betraying him, man. Betraying him. And that leading into what we're getting now with John Cena betraying R-Truth. And man, he's so mean, such a mean guy, such a mean, heartless guy. So be sure to share the link, y'all. Be sure to share the link. Share the link. Be sure to share the link. And we're gonna have a great time, y'all. Let's get these numbers up. Let's get these subscribers up. And of course, hashtag AskDoc is the way to go. And chat is filling up, and it's going to be fun, as always. I answer questions at the end of my class, and it's going to be really interesting, man. I'm really going to break down the importance of friendship and why friendship, like, legit is really important, and why you can't call everybody your friend either, and why even people who call you their friends can be low down, dirty, and ghostly, which some interesting things that is true to that too. And maybe I should reveal some things. It's gonna come up sooner than later. So TikTok, ladies and gentlemen, TikTok. All right, let's see. Let's share. Psychology of friendship, y'all. We're going to have a great time as we do every single week, and we are going to get into this class. Share, and we're going to have a great time as we come in. Let's get these numbers up, y'all. Share. Everybody who's on here right now, if you share it, it will double. And if they share it, it will triple. And if they share it, it will quadruple. Very important topic right now on the psychology of friendship. And man, so my hope, my prayer is by the time I'm done with this class, you will do a reevaluation of who your friends are, who you're calling friends, and who you need to cut off, man. Are they good for you? Not all your friends or who you call your friends are your true friends, and not everybody's good for you. Who you call your friends. So we'll talk about like the importance of friendship and what defines a really, really true friend, and how friendship navigates and starts and transitions, and lots of really important things. So with that being said, let's get into class. So let's start off with this. Let's start off with the scientific importance of friendship, even from a neurological and a psychological standpoint. There was a 2008 study that gathered 34 students. It was actually a little bit more, but because there was a couple handfuls that took a class, they didn't put them a part of the study. So they gathered 34 students from the University of Virginia, and they were recruited as they passed a hill. So what they did was a hill that had a slant on it, and it was interesting because they looked at the slant. They passed the hill, had a slant. What they did was they actually had a pair. They had a friend pair. They had two pairs. They had a friend pair that was, a set of friends, and they had a person go alone. And so basically what they did was they had both of them assess the slant of the hill, and the results showed in this study that those who had a friend with them, they actually those with the friend, it showed that the hill was less steep than the one who was alone. So that goes to show that perception is more positive when it comes to what's called the social support factor of perception. When it comes to particular friendship, the friendship element of it, that person is slant. The perception of that slant hill is steep when the person alone, but the perception of the hill with the friend is not as steep. So it goes to show with the friend, that person felt like they could achieve, or it wasn't as insurmountable, or wasn't as huge, or wasn't as magnanimous as the person who was alone. The person who was alone, it was more of a difficult task or a difficult perception of that hill. It was more slanted for perception wise. Now it was the same hill, and there was no changes in the hill, but the element or the group that actually had a pair or friends, that their perception was actually positive. And so that also showed that in that study that it was a positive influence on temperament and efficacy, as well as just overall perception, particularly with this hill, the perception of how steep this hill is. And if someone alone is like, oh man, this hill is steep, it's so steep to climb, it's so difficult to traverse, versus, oh, we got this together, man. It ain't that difficult. Yes, there's a slant on it, but it's steep, but it ain't that steep, man. It ain't that steep that we both can't achieve together. So that goes to show from a study perspective, just the science behind the importance of friendship. And studies also show that people who have friends and close confidants are more satisfied with their lives and less likely to suffer from depression. And additional studies show that they are less likely to die from heart problems and chronic diseases. So friendships and having someone who's a close confidant, like genuine friendships, and having someone who's a close confidant, actually shows that it has a physical. It has physical effects too, positive physical effects. It lowers risk of chronic diseases. If you have someone who's a close friend or a confidant, it lowers heart conditions. There's also studies to show that it lowers blood pressure. It decreases your heart rate reactivity. It positively has a positive effect on stress. On the contrary of that, there's a psychologist from BYU by the name of Julianne Holt Lonston. She actually talks about, on the contrary, that those who are low in social connections due to factors such as isolation and loneliness and poor quality relationships. Now that's important. The poor quality relationships piece, very, very important, because I'm going to go further into the fact that friendships, again, they're not, you're availing yourself to someone, you're making yourself vulnerable to someone. You got to be very, very careful of who you call a friend, because it really opens up a space in your brain. It opens up vulnerable spaces neurologically. It opens up vulnerable spaces cardiovascularly and psychologically. And so it does more than just saying, hey, that's my friend. It really opens up spaces that you got to really build trust in someone. And even and what's even sadder is, to someone who you felt like you've built trust for so long, if that person has abandoned that trust, it actually can have very poor health risk. It can increase health risk because of that. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But Professor Holt Lunston says that because of the poor social connections and the poor quality relationships, it can actually increase your risk of premature death. So that's how serious a poor quality relationship can be. Like it can exacerbate someone dying. These are all research. These are all, psychological, sociological, scientific studies that shows how serious it is to have those important social bonds, to have those quality friendships, and to avoid, like the plague, friendships that are low quality. It really has huge effects and huge ramifications on one's psychological, neurological, sociological, and even physical health. Very, very important when it comes to the importance of uh, having quality friendships. Now, how do friendships even begin? What do you call a friendship? Friendship typically begins as a social exchange. And so what I mean by that, it has the social exchange of giving and returning favors and other resources. Now, that's typically how a friendship starts. Now, there's a favor. I give you a gift. I give you a favor. And how that usually starts with that social exchange. And so even when you go into like social exchange theory versus altruism, for instance, altruism is just someone who just is very charitable and giving, and is very self-sacrificing when it comes to being there for the good of others, giving for the good of others, and not expecting anything in return. Social exchange, on the other hand, it's more self-serving in many ways. It's like, okay, so I'm going to do these acts, and I'm expecting something in return. I'm expecting a benefit that comes from that. And so when it comes to friendships, there is that type of social exchange factor in the beginning of friendships. Okay, so hey, you mind getting lunch? There's a coworker. Hey, you mind grabbing lunch for us today? And both of you are in the room, the break room, and now you're appreciative of that person just doing a lunch run for you, and then that starts to open up more conversations about current events, or what's on television, or sports, which is usually a very, very quick and fast type of shared interest that opens up more conversations. And so, yes, I did a lunch run, but I'm also expecting someone, particularly you now, to do a lunch run for me, and me asking me a favor in return. So that social exchange element is very typical when it comes to the starts of friendships. Friendships usually people just don't wake up and just go to the grocery store and and have that type of friendship. But hey, maybe you're at the grocery store and someone needs to get something from the shelf, or something that's further down the shelf, and oh, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Oh, I see that on your shirt, I really like your shirt. Oh, I see your J's, I like your J's. I see that you have that those Fords, I like that colorway. And so that oftentimes happens. Always tell people from a clinical standpoint, friendship usually starts with shared interest and shared desires. Now, shared interest is usually the launch pad to friendships, and shared desires is usually when it starts to get more deep and more intimate, and that actually starts to apply. Robert Sternberg's, he has a triangular theory of friendship, actually triangular theory of love, and friendships included in that. It's intimacy, commitment, passion. Those are the three main factors when it comes to deepening one's relationship. And Sternberg talked about that. And so when it comes to friendship and those elements, it's an exchange factor in the beginning, and then it starts to navigate into more a commitment or an investment piece to it. So instead of the exchange factor, now it becomes more of a communal basis, and that communal basis, it goes more to seeing themselves of having a common investment toward each other, and they're contributing toward their friendship for a mutual benefit. So it becomes less social exchange. So for instance, instead of, okay, I'm going to be out and I'll go ahead and get the lunch run for you as a coworker. Now we're friends at work. And so I'm doing more self-sacrificing and more altruistic and more just very charitable, loving gestures. And I'm not expecting any, it gets to the point where I'm not expecting anything in return because it's to the mutual benefit. So for instance, the empathy starts to grow in this relationship. And so from a it goes from a standpoint of, okay, cool, I'll go out and get the lunch for the both of us because you asked, and I'm leaving and I don't know you very much. And then, 2 months later, we're very close friends at work, and we were very close friends outside of work too. But now it's, hey, you need anything? Hey, I'm going out, for lunch. You want me to grab you something? I'm going to Chipotle. You want me to grab you something? And heck, even to the point of, don't worry about paying my treat. Again, the mentality shifts from social exchange to communal investment, because I know that my friend doesn't have a lunch. Me going out to lunch and buying my lunch and my friend's lunch, or even if my friend Zells me or Cash Apps me, regardless of what it is, one thing I do know is now me and my friend aren't going to be without food come lunchtime. And so it becomes less of, okay, yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll go get your lunch now, but I'm expecting for you to give me my, to grab my lunch next week. That's that very kind of entry level point of friendship or even acquaintanceship. And so it becomes that, okay, cool. All right, you got lunch last week. I got lunch last week. You might get lunch this week. Versus, hey, I'm out and I'm going to get lunch. What do you want? And so that's how friendships start to gravitate from the social exchange into the communal basis. And so, and what happens with that is when it gets to the communal basis, the friendships become even stronger. And because there's intimacy as far as just being transparent with each other, being each other's confidant, even getting, trusting, that's a huge factor, is trust, building, continue to do the work to build the relationship. All those things start to go into, okay, so cool. So we don't have to talk today, or, I don't have to, you can ask me for something and you might not hear from me until a day or two from now. There's not a particular like ill motive, or you're not thinking like, man, this person is ghosting me, or you're not thinking like, oh, this person has just motives of not prioritizing me. Nope, it's not like that, because you've built a trust within each other of talking to each other and confiding to each other and having that friendship through investment and effort, continuous investment and effort. Because of that, you're no longer thinking of this person as, okay, this person is not really investing in the friendship as much as I am. You don't deal with that. You shouldn't deal with that. If you're dealing with that, that means oftentimes is a personal insecurity or trust issue that you need to, navigate through and tussle through in your own personal from an intra personal perspective. But if a friendship's solid, if a friendship is continued effort from both people to check on each other, to pray for each other, to, if there's need, to fulfill a need, and that's the thing about as friendships become from a social exchange to a communal investment perspective. It's not like, okay, now I'm feeling used. If I start to do things, you start to invest and invest and invest. Now, here's the thing with friendships. Sometimes, you don't bet 1,000 even with that, even with trusting someone. People can violate your trust, unfortunately, because people are people, man, and trust can't be violated. However, the pro in that, as far as a friendship is concerned, is you've developed trust and you've developed those common investments, those common interests, that mutual benefit when you both are maintaining the relationship for each other. Then you don't have to worry about it's called immediate reciprocity. You don't have to worry about immediate reciprocity. You don't have to worry about, okay, so I'm expecting you to do me a favor now because I did you a favor, yesterday. No, I know you got me. If I'm in need, I know you got me. If I'm in need down the road, I know you got me. If I need cash to pay at the fair and I only have plastic, you've got a 20. Oh, I got you. That's 3 months later. Those are the types, again, communal investment. That's the types of things that happens when friendships start to get stronger and stronger. It goes from immediate reciprocity to future expectation. It's like, yeah, you know what? I got you. It's cool. It's cool. I got you. If there's no issue with that whatsoever. When I know that you're not always in lack or in need and wanting something from me. There's a time where you need something from me. I got you. Now, granted, if you need the money back, that's fine. But generally, it's more of a, it's cool. It's not a big deal. I know you got me down the road. It's $5, it's $20, it's whatever. I know you got me. You know what I mean? So, and then it's one of those things that, okay, it's cool. Like my friends and I do this all the time. It's my friends. I do this with my friends a lot when it comes to paying for tabs. Like I usually rush, to pay for a tab. I'm an acts of service guy, and I love gifts. I just love just blessing people. I'm super blessed to, have money and to be able to bless people like that. And so many of, my friends will tell you that I would pay for a tab, and it's not like, well, do something for me tomorrow. It's, man, I know you got me. And almost every single time I'll be like, I got it. As far as like when I do pay for the tab, now I don't always pay for the tab, but I do a lot though. I do quite a bit. But when it's like, friends who are watching this don't always expect me to pay the tab, but the friends who are watching this will also know that, okay, yeah, he's, if there's someone who's paying a tab, it's going to be me. And that's something that I do a lot. But here's the thing. It's gotten to a point now where a lot of my friends know that I do that, and they jump in before me, and they'll jump in and pay the tab before me. That just happened on Friday. Actually, I was with a good friend, and we were catching up. We do our, quarterly or biannually, 2 or 3 times a year. We just catch up and get some wings and just talk. We talk for about almost 3 hours, and just catching up and just having a really good time. I needed that. I needed that a lot. I'm helping him with his dissertation process, and he was asking me some questions. And then, as expected, we started getting into theology, which I'm a huge theology geek, and he's really big into theology and apologetics as well. And so, we were having some really good conversations, just really sharpening each other, and from a very positive and encouraging perspective when it came to that. It was really good. And like, I wasn't expecting him to pay the tab. And he asked, the waitress said, is it going to be one check? He's like, I got it, because I know I'm going to be asking you a bunch of questions, being when it comes to the dissertation tonight. So I got it. So I was very thankful for that. Wasn't expecting it, but it was great. It was another friend that I had that I not too long ago, I paid for his tab, and then we hung out again, and he paid for mine. He jumped in and paid for mine. And so that's the type of friendship, like when it comes to, again, communal investment, that's the type of stuff that comes with just the type of investment within each other's friendship from a mutual benefit perspective. And so those things are very, very interesting, very, very important, because you're maintaining the effort and investment to keep the friendship thriving. Not barely floating, not coming up for air, thriving. And those are the type of friendships that need to be maintained. The friendships who aren't thriving, and here's the thing, you don't have to talk every day. You don't have to, there's friends who I catch up with and I haven't talked to them for months. And we'll just catch up, and there's no ill will. I'm lifing, they're lifing. It's all good. We catch up and we have a great conversation. And there's also friends in your life that you don't talk to much, but there is an investment, and there's a bank account that's still very plentiful. I was just tagged on Facebook tonight from a good friend that I've been good friends with for, oh goodness, over 15 years now. Just a solid dude. And, he gave me a shout out on Facebook today, as far as just, being in his corner throughout some ups and downs that he's been going through for years. And, I've always rooted for him, man. He's a friend, he's a really solid dude who I've always maintained a friendship. I've went to Starbucks with them. We've had conversations. We've had deep conversations. We've had challenging conversations about some things. And I've always rooted for him, and still to this day. And so there's different types of friendships when it comes to this, but you have to think about, when it comes to those friendships, it's like, is the benefit in this friendship communal? Is there a mutual benefit? Have I gotten to a point where I'm investing in this friendship? There's a communal investment. And or has it got to the point where it's I really don't get much from this friendship. There's not a constant effort to at least encourage each other, or you feel like it's one-sided. And that's where we're getting to now, as far as hey, when do you cut it off? When do you cut it off? Because studies show actually that attempts to maintain the friendship can have an effect on overall well-being. And so there's certain people who haven't heard from someone. And again, the time lapse of two people talking to each other doesn't mean that the friendship is bad. Again, two people can catch up that hasn't talked to each other for a long time. I just saw someone who I haven't talked to in months at a restaurant when I was eating brunch, and good friend. I haven't talked to him in a long time. We chatted, we gave each other dap, and we caught up. And he's a solid dude. And so, but at the same time, who are the friends in your life that you see a shift in a negative direction, and you're doing what you're doing to try to maintain, and you're putting in the effort of maintaining the friendship, but you don't see that effort reciprocated? That's when you got to start evaluating. You got to start evaluating that, because it could really affect. Studies show that it can really affect your well-being. If you're trying to maintain this friendship and this person isn't reciprocating as far as feeding your friendship. Just random texts, just random messages like, hey, you're in my thoughts today. I'm praying for you. I know it's been a while, just checking to see. And I'm super blessed with that, man. I haven't talked to, I'll get to the point I've talked to someone in months, and I'll get random messages, man, how's your back? Like stuff like that is that's a way to continue to feed your friendship. If you're not feeding your friendship like that, you got to start reevaluating it, because studies show the neurological ramifications that it has when you're continuing to try to maintain a friendship and you're the only one feeding this friendship, and you're not seeing the person feeding the friendship. And feeding the friendship is through actions such as kindness and being a good listener, opening up, having that sense of transparency, showing that you can be trusted, and also making an effort to keep the friendship strong. Like if you don't see those particular elements, you gotta reconsider. You gotta reevaluate your friendship and say, hold on, wait a minute. Like I've been sending multiple text messages, multiple messages. And again, if someone's sending multiple messages and they don't get a return, if there's already that trust factor within two people, that's different, because you give, as a good friend, you're giving the person the benefit of the doubt. Okay, it's clear that he's busy because we're tight. We're really good. And we oftentimes maintain a sense of communication that we're both feeding into the friendship. That's very, very important when it comes to sustaining and maintaining a good friendship. But if this person hasn't been able to avail themselves for you to be open to, or just, hey, can I have a space to vent? Can I have a space to talk? And not being a good listener, and get to the point where you're texting someone and they're not responding and they're ghosting you, especially ghosting you as a friend and not responding. I mean, nothing screams disrespect more than having someone call you a friend and get to the point where you're checking in and then you don't hear from them. That is one of those things that's like, okay, now like you've crossed the line at this point. Now you're doing things that you don't want to do because there's a lot at stake with that. Those are the types of things that you need to really, really evaluate when it comes to the status of friendship. Is both people feeding their friendship? Very, very important element when it comes to friendship. And what happens is, if that person isn't, if one or both people, specifically one person, if that person isn't feeding your friendship through the things that I just mentioned, it becomes more prone to be unhealthy. And it's not healthy for your personal well-being to maintain that type of friendship. And that's the time when, hey, you gotta consider cutting it off if you have discussed your needs and how to improve the friendship. But even in you doing that, it still is ineffective and it's still not working. And so it's important for you as an adult to go to the person or text the person or message the person and say, hey, we need to chat. We need to have this conversation when it comes to the status of our friendship, man to man, woman to woman. Like, we need to have this conversation when it comes to the status of our friendship, because this is not what I envision our friendship to look like. This is not what you told me that we're going to be as far as the status of our friendship. This isn't something that I imagine you would do in our friendship. I'm expecting more openness, more transparency. I'm expecting for us to go from social exchange to communal and invest with each other's mutual benefit, and start to get to a point of, it's not a gift or a favor to expect something back. It's a gift or a favor because I want to help. it's a mutual perspective. It's you my guy. Like, I got you. I want to forward you in life as you forward me in life. Those are important things when it comes to evaluating your friendships. And if you get to the point where it's one-sided and you're feeding your friendship but the other person isn't, outside of that being disrespectful, and adults shouldn't do that. It's a very childish thing to do. However, when you get to the point of you got to evaluate it, man. And then you got to get to the point of saying, okay, this isn't healthy. It's not healthy. Not healthy. Go to people, talk to people about it. You don't have to say a name. I mean, if you do, you don't have to say a name, and maybe it's good if you don't. Maybe people will figure it out, but you don't have to say a name. Just get to the point of saying, you know what, I feel wronged by this person. I felt, I felt disrespected. Like I felt duped in many ways, but this is the important part of friendship when it comes to research. You got to be sure that you approach that person first before you start spreading stuff and things like that. Hey, guess what? It could easily have been, I was on vacation. I could have lost my phone, anything like that. But if you're continuing to send this person messages, ask them how they're doing, and y'all have a connection that seemed very, very genuine and was starting to get from social exchange to communal, and that person just, ghosts you. Okay. Well, that's when it's time to evaluate strongly and probably cut that person off. Because at the end of the day, the more you have friendships like that, and the more you're seeing that you're doing a lot of feeding into many friendships, just think about how unhealthy that is from a physiological standpoint. It's just unhealthy. Again, like I said, there's studies that show that it impacts your overall well-being. So you don't have time as an adult to figure that out and saying, hey, I'll continue to just be nice and invest myself. One, you should get to a point where you already have a expectation to make friends. There's actually studies show that if someone gets to the point that they're friendly, or they go into a room and they're expecting to be liked, it actually, the aura actually resonates, and they become more approachable. It's really interesting. It's called the acceptance prophecy. And so, and there's psychological studies that show, when it comes to the acceptance prophecy, how that works, and how you should be more self-confident, and you should go into a room and say, hey, I'm confident enough in myself to know that I have something about me, about my career, about my skill set, about my knowledge base that someone else can benefit from. And that's how friendship starts. Shared interests, shared desires. Shared interests first, and shared desires, and it goes into shared desires as far as helping each other out with those shared desires. Praying for each other when it comes to, like, for instance, when I was pursuing my PhD, like, I had such a amazing list of people who was checking on me. I'm like, I'm not feeling it right now. I'm not feeling it. I don't feel like completing this chapter. I don't feel like doing this research for this daggone lit review. I'm over it. I'm tired. I'm not giving up, but I need some support. I had a list of people, man. I'm praying for you. You got it. Did you finish it? Did you do those few pages? How many pages you want? 5 pages. All right. Did you do it? Did you do it? That it becomes a mutual interest again. Again, I say the mutual interest, it starts to outweigh the social exchange. And that's where true friendships lie. And that's where true friendships are continuing to be cultivated. You don't have time in your life, in your world, to spend time on friendships that aren't feeding you, because in many ways, that can stop you from friendships that can be cultivated and could be mutually beneficial and can really propel you into this. There's so many. I mean, the motivation. There's so many studies that show the health factors outside of what I said. Those are more preventative measures as far as preventing stress and decreasing heart disease and decreasing heightened blood pressure and all that. Those are, really, really good factors from a preventative standpoint. But even from a positive standpoint, there's studies that show that it helps with motivation. There's studies that show that it helps with pursuing achievements and goals being achieved. There's so many positive aspects and so many positive benefits when it comes to friendships. So that's the reason why you gotta choose them wisely. And if someone's not feeding the friendship, I mean, hey, it's their loss. You gotta be confident enough in yourself to realize that it's their loss ultimately. And oftentimes what happens is that person comes back to you. If they were really your friend, they'll come back to you and say, you know what, man, I was wrong. I was wrong. I apologize for not responding to you. I got busy, but I know that you are too. Things happen, and it was just an absolute error on my end. I don't know why I took advantage of your vulnerability. And then you have to assess for yourself, do I trust this person? Yes, forgive them, but do I trust this person enough to allow them to get back into that circle? And that's something that you got to evaluate with yourself. But you'll know who your true friends are and your true friends aren't based on, once again, how much are they feeding the friendship from a positive perspective? How much are they helping you with, again, communal basis, mutual benefit, not expecting immediate reciprocity, but being more future expectations, helping you, being in your corner, being in your stead, being a true solid support, being an encourager. Studies show that positive encouragement is one of the biggest, most positive factors when it comes to friendships versus negative reinforcement versus criticism. Now, criticism, if it's done, like I said before in a previous class, if someone wants to see you win, they're going to tell you the truth, but at the same time, it is surrounded with encouragement. They're going to hear way more encouragement than criticism because they really, really want to see you win. And so those are the people that you have to realize, okay, these people are my friends. They're going to tell me about me, but at the same time, they're going to be some of my biggest cheerleaders. And those are the ones that you want to really continue to cultivate and feed. Now, there's also, there's friends that aren't as close that are beneficial for you, but in many ways, there's still that social exchange. But then you have to survey that. You have to assess that and say, hey, like, is this person a friend? Like, is this person a true friend? And those are the things that you have to really assess. And so my homework to you all is to really look at your list of people that you call friends and assess it and say, hey, I haven't talked to this person in a year, but yeah, this person's still a solid friend. Like, if we talked right now, we'll catch up and we'll encourage each other, and it's all good. But there's also people in your life you're like, yeah, like, this ain't healthy. This ain't healthy. There's no feeding in this. There's no feeding there's no feeding from their end to me. No feeding, so it's not healthy. I gotta cut them off, at least from a standpoint of being a friend, from a vulnerable standpoint and trusting and things like that. Now, cut them off as a person altogether. That's for you to figure out and evaluate. But as far as that friend title or that friend tag, you gotta be able to evaluate and cut it off. There's no need to hold on dead weight to prevent you from getting someone else and cultivating a relationship with someone else because you're so affected by someone who called themselves your friend who unfortunately failed you at fulfilling that role in your life. So things to really, really consider when it comes to friendships. So ladies and gentlemen, that is psychology of friendship stemming from John Cena and R-Truth, ladies and gentlemen. So without further ado, it is now time for the question cave. Let's go. Let's go. The People's Wrestling Channel. Your thoughts on Goldberg's last match being that Saturday night's main event. My thoughts about that is cool. Go for it. I tease this. I had this conversation. I think it'd be it's a show that Vince and I just recently did. And I talked about Goldberg and John Cena possibly being one of Cena's dates. Maybe I was talking about that on a live show. I don't remember what it was. But I did mention Goldberg. Like, what do you think about Goldberg and John Cena? On paper, that sounds really interesting, especially since Cena's a heel right now, because they can do something with that as far as stories instead of just slapping matches together, which WWE is notorious for doing now, unfortunately. However, you got to give me something with it, though. You got to give me more. Got to give me substance. And if that's Goldberg's last match, him retiring with Cena, and I said this before. I said this when I was having this conversation recently. If John Cena is the one who retires Goldberg, that's as anti-WCW as you possibly can get. You got John Cena, who was a poster child for WWE over the past 20 years, compared to Goldberg, who was one of the biggest names and was a poster child for latter parts of WCW for the last 5 years of WCW, really 4, but he started to become, notable in 97. And so that would be as burying and putting an end and stop to WCW as you possibly could get. Like, we already got that with Sting losing to Triple H at WrestleMania 31, which I still say to this day was one of the biggest mistakes that WWE ever made at WrestleMania. I would say the other one would be Booker T not winning and not beating Triple H at WrestleMania 19. And yeah, I think both of those were big, big errors. But I think that this would be, hey, WCW, here's a shovel, ladies and gentlemen. I fell out my bed today and have hurt my shoulder, neck, and back. Man, I hope you feel better. Very much so. There's going to be 4 shows in 2 days in July. Great American Bash, Saturday night's main event, and All In Saturday Evolution on Sunday. Oversaturation is an understatement when it comes to pro wrestling nowadays. And, I read and look at and listen to business stuff all the time. And when it comes to like a product, and the product is, when a product has oversaturation or when there's an overstock of product, what happens is oftentimes it gets to the point of what's called spoilage. And what happens in that is you have so much, you have an overconsumption of product. You have an overstock of product that it's affecting your overhead because you're having an oversupply of things that people didn't demand, and so that's affecting your bottom line. That's affecting your overhead, and then because they didn't ask for it, you're going to experience spoilage, and so you're going to have to discard, a lot of that stuff, which affects your financial status as well. So it's like, man, you got to be careful with that, man, for sure. People aren't asking for these stuff with all these podcasts and stuff that's coming out now, man. I'm always looking to improve. I like to call the action on my watch alongs. How can I make it better? General question that you have to give me more specific of what you're doing nowadays. We can talk about that on the after party. Do you think, James, Finn and Liv are working together and they had this idea to bring Roxanne as a way to test Dom to see if he tries to do what he did to Rhea and turn on her for Roxanne? This is how I feel about that. Yeah, man. Head shake. That alone right there that you just explained to me is what? As someone who watches Raw every single week and reviews it, man, that's confusing to me. Who watches it every week? Like, that's confusing as crap, man. Sure. I mean, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. As for Sunday's main event, James asking, which I thought was just awful, or I decided to watch the first ever Sunday's main event, which was in '85, and gotta say I loved every minute, especially the main between Hogan and Bob Orton. Good stuff. I mean, I'm telling you, the old school Saturday Night's main event was absolutely amazing. Obsession as the theme song, which they still do, but just the ba, 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 ba. And they used to have the promos in the very beginning. It's like the cold open. They would just go straight into the promos. Oh my goodness. Amazing. Stephanie McCurry lost the title. Okay. There you go. Everyone support PNP and buy a shirt. Absolutely. Buy a shirt. That's what they used to say that all the time in NWO. Buy a shirt. James, what's your favorite SNME match or segment? I haven't seen it, but I've heard the Hogan Boss Man Steel Cage match in '89. I believe it's really good. Yeah, that was really good, man. See, the Hogan Andre Hebner double ref thing, that was actually the main event. That wasn't Saturday Night's main event. It's one of the most popular Saturday Night's main event themed segments, but that was actually not Saturday Night's main event. That was actually called the main event. It was like an offshoot of that. So because an offshoot, maybe I'll count that, but I will say, yeah, I remember Hogan and Orndorff, man. I remember that Hogan and Orndorff from the very beginning. I remember the Uncle Elmer segment. I remember, of course, Jake Roberts and Ricky Steamboat, most memorable when Steamboat got his head cracked, unfortunately. I remember Hogan and Kamala was a match on Saturday Night's main events back in the day. Yeah, man. I mean, that was some of the things that I remember from back in the day of Saturday Night's main event, man. Very, very. It was just nostalgic. It was awesome. What do you think wrestling today? Why do you think wrestling today is so bad? James asking. I believe it's the lack of legends and star power, and we don't have that. We don't have that anymore because most are either retired or sadly no longer here. What do you think? I think it's lack of character development. I think the inmates are running the asylum now. I think that, like I said in one of my other classes about kayfabe, I think the characters are on the outside of the ring, and I think that the spectators are on the inside of the ring. I stand by that, and that's how I feel. And I psychologically broke that down, so it's not just a mere opinion. It's what we see from an observation standpoint, and I'm breaking down what that means. Like it's true. We see it. We observe it every week, man. The characters are outside of the ring, and the spectators on the inside of the ring, man, because there's so much lack of characters. And wrestling fans settle for anything. They settle for anything. They're pushing away the mainstream fans, the casual fans, the main fans, the fans outside of the wrestling bubble. They're pushing them away because they're settling for any and everything that's scheduled. How in the world are you just scheduling a match and marking out because you're excited about a daggone match? The match is staged. The match is choreographed. Why in the world are you excited about a match occurring with no build and no story? What in the world, man? Where have we steeped to so much, stooped to so much that we can just be just gullible and vulnerable to just like Pavlovian dogs, just accept anything and everything that comes on our plate and salivate it for us. And that's like, man, that's the reason why I am not a hardcore wrestling fan whatsoever. I watch Raw, and I've got friends in the business that tell me things, and it keeps me intrigued to find out if those things happen. And I'll sit and I'll look at algorithms, and people sit and DM me stuff all the time and say, "Good job, this happened." I just got that with the Jeff Cobb stuff. I reported Jeff Cobb. And so, yeah, I mean, that's Henry too. And so those are the fun things that I like about wrestling from a inside reporter standpoint. But that's because I am blessed to be in those positions, and I take my job very seriously. And so I enjoy what I do. So I enjoy that. But as far as just where we're at right now from a product as a whole, I've said this before. I've said this many, many, many times before. If there was one word that would adequately describe how I feel about pro wrestling right now, it would be disappointed. Period. Disappointed. Because we were just talking about Saturday Night's Main Event. Characters. You're just not slapping matches just because. Now, you would do that from an undercard perspective, but when it comes to like main event matches, nah, man, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. People got to earn their way to main event. That's with any type of combat sport. With UFC, you don't have someone who's just ranked 22nd because they have a horrible win-loss record go against the champion. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in any sport. So now you're getting people who are just so vulnerable and gullible. And the problem with that is it's pushing people away from the product who you want to bring to the product because you want to book for the casual audience. Why in the world are networks buying WWE product just to have the same people come to that product? It's not opening it up for anybody else. It's just you got the same niche audience just going from channel to channel. That's essentially what you're having. Now, granted, I've said this many, many times before, WWE business-wise, TKO, they know how to do business. Does that is that two is that two sides of a candle burning at the same time though? That's something that you really have to consider when it comes to those really kind of fast type of just very, very intense type of growth. I mean, it is both sides of the candle burning. And eventually it's going to fade out. So what are you doing to sustain that? And so that's important too. So there's many things, man. I can go on and on and on. It's just like, man, there's gotta be a standard. There's got to be a challenge to the pro wrestling business instead of just being so daggone sheepish and gullible to anything and everything and saying, oh, that match was amazing. It cooked. It cooked. It cooked. You know what I mean? Like, okay. But where's the story, man? Now you're just going to settle for any and everything that comes up. Oh, it's a match. Oh, it's going to be amazing. Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well, you have your 2 million people watch, or 1.2, I think it was, for SmackDown, man. I mean, like, what? What? Like, SmackDown used to be the higher rated show between SmackDown and Raw. Like, SmackDown would get like solid 2s, and now you're at a 1.2. Yikes. Danimo, what do you think AEW could gain fans because of the ticket prices of WWE events? People might not want to pay for WWE, so maybe they go see AEW live instead. It just depends on what those types of fans are. Are those types of fans just more of a sports entertainment, or are they a hardcore wrestling fan? I think there's a lot of AEW, like our AEW is a hardcore audience. They're a hardcore wrestling audience. So either you're going to watch AEW anyways, if you're a hardcore audience, or you're going to watch WWE. If you like that type of just hardcore wrestling moves, flips, kicks, gore, like it's even more of a niche, but it's not really like. It used to be an alternative to WWE, but now it's like its own niche that's like really getting niche because of the type of product it's become. So, I wouldn't say that AEW really opens itself to be like a hub or a place for WWE defects anymore. It's because, let's see, how do you put on the screen graphics? I don't understand how you put on the screen graphics, and why are you telling me this on air? Let's see. Sally, who do you think will win the men's and women's Money in the Bank this year? I know if you know any spoilers, may you share it privately with us. That would be amazing. I get paid to talk about spoilers. I get paid to share spoilers. Thank you for asking, by the way. But I get paid to share spoilers, so I definitely. I've had this question asked to me several times. Let me break this down for you real quick. So, one, I get paid to exclusively share information. All right, so I'm definitely not going to share spoilers privately to people. All right, I've teased it before to someone, but I didn't share, and I won't share. One, okay. Two. Over the past year or so, I've learned a lot in this inside reporting gig. It's a really interesting gig. I've actually formed even more newer contacts that I've developed friendships with, and just there's, it's interesting, man, because there's the wrestling world is really it's carny. It's still carny. I'm a real person who isn't, a part of the carny wrestling business. I'm a journalist, and I've been a journalist for 15 years. writing for sports, formerly Sports Illustrated and Fox Sports, among other things. So I look at this from more of a journalist perspective and getting inside information as a journalist. But a lot of what I'm realizing from the conversations that I've had with people, still do have with people, is that this wrestling business, even on the inside, is still carny. And so, like, there's people who that I've experienced even recently, and hey, maybe I'll reveal who those people, maybe that person is sooner than later. But even people I've experienced that has gotten to a point where, like, it's still a work, and there's relationships that were promised but not delivered. And so I'm like, okay, now I'm getting the carniness of the wrestling business. But on the other hand, I will say there's some solid people in the wrestling business, and I'm super blessed to frequently have a bunch of contacts that I have a really good relationship with, and they've been steady. But there's a contact that I have that's as flaky as all get out. And hey, it's one of those times that at the end of the day, I got to protect myself, because as a journalist, you do your best to protect your sources, and then when they don't protect you, all bets are off. And so, with that being said, I'm moving in a very intentional way. And so, when it comes to match spoilers, no, I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore, because one thing I did realize, especially with the Drew stuff, I was given spoilers. Like, I gave several correct spoilers, and I didn't report one because I know people want spoilers. People were DMing me, like, I got a slew of DMs that wanted spoilers, because I treated my Twitter as like a personal page. Like, I'm getting information, and I wasn't really using it as a business page. It became like a business page. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll use it as such, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it got to the point I end up earning more money. I got to the point where I use it to my advantage. And now I'm getting paid more I'm getting paid. I'm getting, just to do that part, I'm getting paid well to do that, actually. And so I'm blessed about that. But then anytime when it comes to like a business, you got to reassess. You can't be stubborn. You can't be, it's just not good. It's not a good business evaluation to continue to do the same thing if you're realizing that it's not to your benefit, it's not to the consumer's benefit, or it may be to some consumers' benefit, but it's still affecting your personal evaluation. And so I got information from backstage that Drew was winning, and that didn't end up being correct. And so I was like, you know what? That's gonna reassess some things as far as what I report. I can send you screenshots of, I knew that it was supposed to be Cena Orton. Like, for instance, I didn't report that because that was a spoiler. I actually knew Cena Orton before WrestleMania. And so I didn't report it, though. I didn't report it because one thing I'm noticing is, like, it's not even worth it, because WWE, they change stuff so quickly. I know for a fact, trust me when I say, I know for a fact that WWE changes things so quickly. There's things that were brewing, there's things that were discussed, there's things that were on the table, and then they're like, nope, change it. And so I'm like, you know what? Nah, because even if it's true and even if it was going to happen, you don't have an audience who receives stuff like that well. And it's too much like, okay, yeah, this bunch is like, hey, we want spoilers. And this bunch is like, oh my gosh, you're horrible for giving spoilers. Why are you doing this? And I'm like, nah, I ain't got time in my day for that. Like I don't. It's too much time and energy that I don't have, and that's the reason why I don't do Twitter that much anymore. Because one thing I did realize is that I was starting to consume way too much of my time to appease my Twitter audience, and I wasn't ever trying to do that. I mean, but at the same time, I was thinking business, business, business. Let's appease my consumers. But then the problem with that is that the consumers started to become a wave of the IWC. It wasn't like respectful, faithful, loyal consumers who were following me because they supported my work. It was immature, petulant IWC. You're as good as the last thing you reported. And I'm like, nah, no, I'm not doing that. Nope. Not that. Not again that. Not Saturday Night Live, Dana Carvey. Not again that. Not again that. WWE X Roblox 2025. Hey, Dr. Chris, I kind of miss when you used to drop results. See, here we go. See, I didn't even see this, and this is exactly my point right here. I mean, just like this is poetic in the timeliness right here. Hey, Dr. Chris, I kind of miss when you used to drop results spoilers. LOL. LOL. Maybe people don't like it, but some people wants to know, and maybe you can filler it, and people could choose it to see or not. Well, I do have the Patreon, which I gave the spoiler for the Elimination Chamber. It was the incorrect spoiler, but again, that's the information I heard from backstage. It was incorrect, but I got to report what I hear. And I reported some other spoilers with that too, but I'm laying off of that. It's not worth it. I mean, it's just not worth the time and the energy. It's too risky. It's just too risky with how WWE changes things. And again, you want to talk about breaking the fourth wall of inside reporting. I can pull a Maven and do some things, man. Do some things, but thankfully, I still got some really good contacts and really good people that I definitely want to protect them. But the other people, on the other hand, not worth protecting if they don't protect me. Let's see here. The People's Wrestling Channel. Am I buying you a cake for your birthday like I did last year? I don't know. I mean, that's your question. That's your question. That's your question to answer, my man. If you want to, I'll accept for sure. The cryptic X on the cryptic tweet on X, TikTok is cross-winning their money bank. No, that tweet was me being intentional with breaking the fourth wall about something. So I'm moving very intentionally when it comes to that. It's my version of WWE Unreal, so to speak. But unfortunately for others, it's not going to be very pretty. But it's important for me to be wise in that. But I'm getting people talking because I'm getting messages and I'm getting responses. And so you gotta, when you make an impact, you gotta do it wise. You gotta be able to make that step and make a move without going too far, believe breadcrumbs for people to wonder. And then you start to gain people's attention, and then you start to gain the people's attention enough that it becomes wide enough for the people who you want attention. They're like, uh-oh. So that's what I'll say about that. There's a good chance you'll be getting more of those on my Twitter. Perfect timing. You were talking about friendships. Can guys and girls be friends? Yeah, let me just say this before we go, and I'll go through this. I'll go through all these here. Yes, they can. Yep. Absolutely they can. But then you got to be careful when it comes to marriage confines now. You got to be very careful about that. Can you say that the Denver Broncos aren't your new favorite? Can you say that? I'm not going to give that to you. I'm not going to give you that that luxury to know. Following question is personal, but I hope you can help. Plus, perfect timing for the I think this question. I know this may make me vulnerable to being made, but I don't care. I honestly need help and advice. Hop on the Patreon. You're a patron. Let's do it. Oh, you gotta. Okay, let's hop on the Patreon. We ain't got much time for it, but I want to hurry up and let's talk about it. Free therapy sessions, or coaching sessions on my Patreon here. I did want to open up for that more anyway, so it's perfect timing. Clip side, what does it say about a person who isn't motivated to do well for themselves, going to the gym, advancing career, but then if someone else depending on them, they're able to strive? Someone's depending on them. Well, there's a few things that comes with that. It could be, from a standpoint of, oftentimes people are motivated, especially when people who are in a state of depression. One of the things that gives them out of their slump is the emphasis on how is this affecting other people. And so that helps them. And then it gets to a point of what's called the Hawthorne effect, which people usually they act based on the observation of others to them. So those are two real quick things. R.I.P. Rich Derringer, writer and singer of Hogan's Real American Song. Oh, did he pass? Sad to hear. A girl I met in college became a friend in person with deep feelings for the one that got away. Got married the other day. Kills me, and never, not gonna lie, never told her my feelings out of respect of her relationship. I was too late to indicate she may know, but it sucks. How do I cope and go from here? All right, let's hop on this Patreon, man. We got some therapy to talk about. We got a therapy session, it looks like. What if you're a P that stays to themselves and only has few friends? Is that healthy? A P? P-E-E person, maybe. Having an inner circle. If you're an introvert, you have your friends are more like this is how I differentiate introverts and extroverts. Extroverts is more net fishers. They just cast a net, and whoever comes in, some good, some bad, but at least they have. They prefer to recharge in groups or with people. Introverts are more spear fishers. Neither of them are bad. Both can learn, lean and gleam from each other. Introverts are more spear fishers. They're intentional about they look at the fish. Okay, I want to be friends with you. Boom. And so, but I also always say it's important for people to have an inner circle. About 2 or 3 friends, and those are your really, really, really good core friends who you can really, really be vulnerable to. I also have a tier system when it comes to friendships and acquaintanceships that I don't have time to get into now, but ask me another show and I'll get into it. Goldberg versus Cena is honestly a money match. They should do it, especially heel Cena. I think that Goldberg and Cena is a money match for sure. Absolutely. All right. I gotta roll, y'all, but I'm loving this interaction, man. I'm loving this interaction. Let's see someone who I haven't pulled up yet. Okay, I think that's everybody that I haven't pulled up. I think I've done before because I got to roll. We got to get to this after party. It looks like I got some therapy to do. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this show in a row, man. This was fun, man. This was fun. I hope you were blessed by this. This is a real and serious and genuine topic to talk about the psychology of friendships. And this is what I do every single week on Pancakes and Power Slam. So let everybody know. Subscribe if you haven't. My goal, and I'm so serious about this, man. I want to have a consistent level of thousands of people in the chat every single week. Tens of thousands, million subs on YouTube, because one thing I'm learning more and more, and I'm getting this feedback, which I think is great, is that people enjoy this. It's a niche, and people enjoy it. People enjoy me transitioning into actual psychology topics that spawns from something that happened in pro wrestling. And so, yes, John Cena and R-Truth, friendships are not my event. Okay, let's do a whole class on the psychology of friendships. And so people are really enjoying that, and I really appreciate it, y'all. I really do, man. Y'all are awesome and so supportive, and it's showing because I'm starting to get more and more. I'm looking at my YouTube algorithms, and it's like green, and so like that says that is so amazing for y'all to do, and I really appreciate that. I don't care if I get 1 million. When I get 1 million subs, 1,000,001, that 1 in 1,000,001 will be appreciated just as much as the 1 in 1,001, because you won't ever see me lose appreciation for each and every one of you, because I do it for you, ladies and gentlemen. And it takes you to spread it and to become let people know about this show. This show will only expand because of the effort that you put in to expand it. I can't just say, hey, YouTube, let's just get a bunch of subs and just let's just have the algorithm, like, let's just plaster the show in front of the algorithm for everybody to see. No, that's not how YouTube works, unfortunately. But if you spread it, if you share it on groups, if you share it on your page, if you retweet it, if you post a link, that's how the groundswell happens. And that's how I've been able to gain several hundred subscribers over the past few months. And so for that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. So without further ado, until next week, enjoy your week of wrestling. God bless. And always remember, I do it for you. Have a good night, everybody. So long.